It's our next episode. Now our episode is with our special guest, a lovely couple, and who used to be my guest also at the Dream to Rise Inner Circle. And it's so nice to be reconnected with them. A beautiful young couple for me. Yes. Who's always who always have they have this young at heart thing to share with us, especially those in a relationship. And again, our guest for tonight is actually a couple who started a company by the name Restoration Ministry Incorporated, and they help couples redeem their marriages, whether they are divorced, struggling to make it work, or just looking for ways to improve their relationship with each other and God. And
Amen.
coach them on what they need to do to achieve the relationship of their dreams using biblical principles that are verified through research.
Yeah.
Without further ado, my friends, let us welcome Sherman and Senise Daley. Welcome, welcome, my dear friends. It's so nice to have you back.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for inviting us to be here.
It seems that it's kind of choppy. Your voice, your audio is an.
Can you hear us okay?
Oh,
How's it?
now it's okay. It's okay.
Awesome.
All right.
That's great. I again, as what I've mentioned, I'm so happy and I'm so glad that we're here together back again, because relationship is always a hot topic. That's why I invited you, and this is also a good way to, because a lot of things are happening. Marriages are the divorce rate is going up, and marriages are I could see even my friends whose marriages are broken, and then because of how they relate with their partners or with their spouses. So it's, and even probably the relationship that we could talk about is also about your relationship with your children, with your parents. And it's not really in terms of what it in terms of your relationship with your spouses or your partners. So let's go ahead and let's start. Probably you could share with us something about yourself, your life story, your love story. I always love to hear love stories. And I'm sure our listeners are also excited to hear your love story. And what brought you to where you are right now?
Thank you so much, Cynthia. So, one of our daughters calls our story the ultimate love story. We both, you usually start out really good.
If you want.
Yeah, you start us off, and I usually fill in the blanks.
So we're okay. So going back, we're Christians. We accepted the Lord when we're a lot younger. Right now, we're up in years, but back then in our 20s, our teens, and so we developed a relationship with the Lord. Both of us got married. I was married for 19 years. My wife was also married for probably longer than that.
I guess about 18, almost 20 years. Lived with that husband for about 5 years before we married. This big mistake, but
And so anyway, we're both involved in church and ministry and stuff, but still our marriages fell apart. And it's in many ways, that's kind of seemed like a taboo, because by biblical principles, you're married to marriage for life. But anyway, we both ended up in divorce. I kind of expected mine to be resolved in 7 years. It didn't. So I asked the Lord, I prayed for all the things I wanted. And
you mean you wanted yours to be restored?
Yes, but that didn't happen.
Okay, it was resolved, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started praying. I asked the Lord, bless me with a new wife. You know, these are things I'm asking for. And ta-da, here she came. She came with everything I asked for, even stuff I didn't know I needed. She came with. So I'm like, this is
Discovery.
awesome. This is great. This is awesome. And we got married. And 3.5 years later, we separated. A year later, we got a divorce. And through that time, it was a real tumultuous time. Um, I don't care what they tell you, divorce is no fun. It's
No.
horrible. People don't talk about the painful side of divorce. They only talk about it to try and get away from the pain they're experiencing. But it's really easier to fix it than actually go through a divorce. But anyway, the Lord, in that time, I'm like, God, what do I do? And she's everything I want. What am I going to do now? What am I going to ask for something else? You already gave me everything I wanted. So, you know, what do I do? And he says, basically, Sherman, you need to learn to understand your wife. You need to understand what makes her tick. You need to understand when she's stressed. What is she dealing with? Okay, you need to begin to learn to understand who she is. And she's wounded, she's hurt, she's angry. Okay, you need to start learn to understand. And they started by studying. I started learning about relationships, started my growth and my development. We end up we got a counselor. My wife will probably talk to you about him.
This is usually where I come in.
Yeah, this is usually where she comes in. But anyway, we got he was just not, it wasn't just a counselor. He was we got counseling. Okay, we did that for about a year. We got married and we continued to have him on even after we were married. We got remarried in 2020. And so it's been 4 years now. But through that process, we learned so much because we walked it. We walked through all the pain and all the ins and outs, the struggles, the rough times, the loneliness, all of that pain and everything. And we learned what do we need to do to restore your marriage? What do you need to do to keep it? So we're now, after going through that, the Lord started showing me how much this is a huge need.
Yeah.
When I look around me, some of the things that I needed to hear when I was there, nobody was saying. No one was telling me it's able to be fixed.
No.
As a matter of fact, most people don't really have a sense of confidence that their marriage can withstand divorce. So there's a lot of people walking around with the fear in the back of their head, not being able to feel confident of knowing that they can have a sustained relationship. So we've learned a ton of things. We now have 3 coaches. One's a relationship coach, one's a business coach, and another relationship coach that are able
couple
to
that coach.
One's a couple and one isn't. But in other words,
one of our coaches, one of our coaching comes from a couple is what we're trying to say.
So we got both.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, and we'll probably get into this more, it's easier to fix it than to go through a divorce. But I'll let my wife had her. You can fill in the gaps now.
I would just like to ask, before going to a divorce, did you get a mediator to help you out first? Because divorce is very expensive, getting a lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, so we, Sherman was accurate in everything. Before getting our divorce, very early in our marriage, I could sense something was off in the relationship and how we were relating to each other. So we didn't, we got a mediator that wasn't helpful. And I honestly, it stemmed making things worse. So we kind of tailspinned in the relationship Like he said, we were married for 3 years, and that 3 years was rough. We were not equipped. Like Sherman said, we got married after being married before, being older, thinking, okay, been there, done that. We know how this works now. And, I had done a lot of preparation in healing as a single mother. Reading a lot of Christian single women encouraging books and teachings. My favorite author is Michelle McKinney Hammond. And so I felt confident that Sherman was the one and that I was ready.
By the way, how long was that after you divorced your first spouse?
For me, it was about 10 years I had been single.
10 years. So it's not that short courtship with Sherman.
No. So when I met Sherman, when we met, I had been divorced from my my first husband for 10 years. He had been divorced from his wife for 7 years.
But in terms of the courtship you've had,
courtship was very fast track. In that 10 years, I had dated, a little bit, but nothing as serious as, proposals. And so when we met, we just instantly hit it off. I had made a list at the encouragement of Michelle McKinney Hammond. You make a list, tell the Lord what you want in a man. So my list was pretty large. And as I was getting to know Sherman, he was checking all the boxes.
So he also has a list, the qualities that he needs.
Well. Yes, he had a list as well. My list was literally physical. I had actually literally written down
What do you mean by physical? The physical attributes?
No. I had physically written the list.
Physically written. I see.
Just a list
I thought you were looking for a muscular man.
Well, you know what? On my huge list, there was one physical attribute that I just put there. It wasn't a deal breaker, but like I said, the encouragement was to just be bold and just be open and just write your list. And, just be courageous and write this list to Abba, Father, to God, what I would be looking for, what I think. And this is all introspective, right? What I think would make me happy. And so, yes, Sherman literally clicked all the boxes, even the physical attribute. But so for us to start having problems early on in the relationship was devastating. It was discouraging. It was hurtful. And like I said, the help we got wasn't helpful. It just kind of perpetuated the problem. And so the 3 years later, he served me with divorce papers. I tore them up. Don't tell anybody that. I wasn't ready at that moment. But then later, as months were going by, and I moved, we separated. So I moved out. And a year after our separation, I gave it a year, afterwards. And it was at that point where, because of, being able to, financial reasons, it was better for me to divorce at that time. So I filed divorce.
Oh,
And
the second round, it was you who filed now the divorce.
yes, after that, yeah, I filed for divorce. And so we lived divorced and separated for a total of 4 years.
Oh.
Yeah, so when we got that counselor, when we started being civil to one another again, and started kind of having a conversation, one of my absolute requirements was that we got coached, we got counseled, and not just anybody, a professional counselor with experience who was a Christian. And so, you know, we had our list. And so God provided us with the perfect counselor for us. And I always tell this story. I don't know if I told it the first time we were on with you, but when we met with that counselor and he heard our story for the first time, it was on Zoom because it was during COVID time. And he heard our story and he told us, he said, you know, most couples who have been divorced as long as you have, and, you know, granted, we've separated and divorced, living apart for a total of 4 years. He said most people with those characteristics, when they try to reconcile, they have a 1% chance of making it work.
Mhm.
Oh, that was so heartbreaking to me. You know, 1%, come on, not 50, not 40, not 20, not 10.
Yes.
1% chance. And so we finished that call. And after we got off the call, I don't, we weren't in the same place. I think I called Sherman and I said, I don't like him. Pretty pessimistic. And I was crushed because, you know, at that point, after all the hurt, and I was hopeful. I wanted to be hopeful that we can reconcile. And Sherman said, you know, Senise, I have a different take on it, what he's saying. He said to me, he's saying, if we're going to make this work, it's going to be a lot of work. And it's not going to be a lot of work on our part, not his. So it was kind of his way of giving a disclaimer. Hey, look, if you guys don't make it, it's your fault. But he was right. And
Yeah.
I think that was a light bulb that went off for both of us, that this is work. It is not easy. It is very difficult. And so we learned. We sat under him for almost 2 years, I would say, even after we got remarried, learning and growing and learning how to communicate with one another. That led us to another coach who is a relationship coach. And God led us to another coach who is a business coach. And then we have the couple that we meet with ever so often as coaches and mentors as well for our own relationship help. So
That's
you
a
know
nice
that
thing, no? That's a nice thing because see, you have two different perspectives on that particular coach. But I could see it as like a parent. It's a tough love thing, no? Wherein you're being challenged. Hey,
yes,
living a life is not easy as well, but
yes,
you should learn how to be more responsible, more independent, be accountable for whatever action you take because it's your life. Now,
Right.
this is your relationship, and
Mhm.
you are getting back together because you're forming again another life together.
That's right.
And yes, it sometimes it helps, no, when you're being challenged. It's
Yes,
not always being given to you on a silver platter. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And so in all of that, we've learned the skills, you know, we've learned, we even went and became certified as relationship coaches to make sure that we are able to offer people, you know, not just our opinion, but research driven, godly principles that really work. And we don't come from just what we've learned, we've come from what we're doing,
Yes.
how we have applied what we've learned. And so, like Sherman said, in December, it'll be our the 4th year anniversary of our remarriage, and it'll be 12 years for us total.
Wow. See? See?
Yeah.
So you believe love is lovelier the second time around?
I like that. Love is lovelier the second time around, honey. But you know what? It is so much better. It is so much better. We, you
It's
know,
best it's ever been.
it's the best it's ever been. It's getting closer and closer with each conflict, with each interaction that we have, to becoming exactly what God wants it to be. You know, and that's how we are as Christians, right? We go from glory to glory. We go from struggle to struggle, victory to victory. And it's all for his glory.
Yes.
So, you know, we appreciate what the Lord has done for us in our relationship. It has taken us, though, realizing we needed help, and we needed, first of all, the Lord's help, and then him sending people to help us, and us being willing to be coached and willing to be helped.
And to take action. Now, mind if I ask you one question? What do you think was the main reason, or the main reason of the breaking, the separation, and the first?
I'll
The
answer it
divorce.
this way, and I'll answer it not so it doesn't just apply to us, but it applies to everyone. Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Why are marriages failing? I'll give you 5 quick reasons. One really, but I'll include
You
5.
wanna show us?
Um,
We have a slide,
Do
part
you-
of our,
Mhm.
can we share this?
Sure.
Just
Let me
slideshow.
let me okay, there. You're now a co-host.
Frank, slide.
Yeah, so this is, now you gotta,
Okay, I'm just doing this.
Okay,
It's just gonna
just share it
complicate
that way.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna complicate it. Where I'll share our screen. Screen 2. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Here are the main reasons why we struggle. Most people struggle in marriage.
It is applied to us.
Yeah, and it definitely applies to us.
Except I don't know how. It's
It's flipped the screen. So, really the first thing is we're ill prepared. One, we're ill prepared. That's usually the biggest thing. Okay. 2, we lack godly role models. Most of us don't know what a good, effective marriage looks like. Then the other thing, we have unrealistic expectations of our partners. Okay. And we did not learn the skills to build a successful marriage. These are all the reasons why. We're ill prepared, one. We don't have the role models. We have unrealistic expectations, and we never did learn the skills. But at the bottom of it all, we're all selfish. In other words, we're all sinners. Well, we're all missing the mark. Okay.
We're human.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, these are the reasons why people are struggling. Now, let me dig deeper into that so you understand. Okay. All of us grew up in a family. Okay. And what we've learned about relationship 9 times out of 10 is from our families, from our parents, from our friends. Okay. That's where we are, maybe we watch stuff on television. We've garnered our relationship structure from those various eras. Guess what? Just because you see people do something doesn't necessarily know how to do it. And oftentimes when we get in, I liken it this way. It's like you grow up and you watch your parents drive a car, right? You see them, they change the gear, whatever. So you know that, they can drive the car. You watch them drive the car.
See how it works.
You see how it works. You see all the things. And then when it's your turn to learn how to drive, the DMV says you need to get a license before you can drive. You got to go learn how to drive. Okay. And you got to practice and you do all these things before you get the license to drive. When you get married, however, nobody says you need to go learn, practice, or whatever. You should have been learning that they expect. But the thing is, so now you got two people in the car and you're both trying to steer the car, and before you know it, you're killing each other on the road, or you make a mess out of driving, because when you first try to drive, you realize I don't know how.
There's a lot more to this.
There's a lot more
You
to
mean
this.
there's rear view mirrors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that analogy because we can all relate to seeing our parents drive, and we get to a point where we had to drive and we could see it was not as simple as it looked.
Exactly.
Guess what? Marriage is the same way. It's not as simple as it looks. And the reason why it's not as simple as it looks, because God created marriage in a perfect environment. And it was designed to work where both of them were other-centered. They were thinking about each other's needs. In our culture today, it's more, when sin entered in, selfishness came in. And we've been selfish since day one. Everybody's born with this desire to be selfish. And nowadays, you listen to people when they get a divorce. What's the first thing they say? They weren't taking care of, they weren't meeting my needs or whatever. Somewhere along the way, their needs were not being met. Okay.
It's all about themselves, no? Their
All about
ego.
themselves now. And unfortunately, that is the demise, because you get to a point where you stop seeing the other person and you start seeing yourself, and your focus becomes on you, and you lost focus of the other person. And the only way this works is when you're thinking about each other.
Right.
It was designed to work that way. That's the way God designed it.
Right.
You
Because we do have needs.
Right.
And they're honest. My needs weren't met. Yes, we do have needs, and they do need to be met, but they're met by each other.
And that's
but not by demanding.
Right. And see, that's the challenge. It's when you begin to think of the other person, you're thinking about their needs, what they need. So you meet her needs, she meets your needs. And that's the way. Now, when we're dating, okay, we see everything that's beautiful about the other person. So it's easy to be done. You get married, now you're together 24 hours. You don't just see the rosy side, you see the other side of the moon that nobody sees.
Now you mentioned about this one. I would just like to ask a question, because in our culture in the Philippines, well, during my time, live-ins are not allowed.
Right.
So when we moved here, we found that there are live-ins before you get married. Would this really help you build each other up or help the relationship before you get married?
Statistics says that 30-something, between 30 and 40%, you will increase your opportunity for divorce by between 30 and 40% if you cohabitate.
You will increase
You will
30%.
increase your up. Okay,
Your
so that's
risk.
why you understand why the divorce rates is going up now, because more people are doing that.
Your risk goes
Your
up.
risk goes up of it. Okay, the chance of you getting a divorce increased by 30+%.
If you
Wow.
live together
You live
before
together
you,
before.
yes. Yes.
No,
But they were saying that how will you discover that person if you don't live in the same roof? Because most of the time, I'm being an devil's advocate. The other would say that, oh, they're just marketing themselves. Oh, they will give you the best side of themselves. And then when you get married, that's how you will discover the bad sides.
okay, okay,
That is true.
That's true. But there's two answers to that. And the problem we have with dating is, okay, think about dating. Where does it go? It only leads one place. Are people,
Getting to know each other, right?
yes, it's getting to know each other, but is that what it hasn't become that anymore. It's that we've changed. See, this is the problem. We've changed what God originally created it for to something that's convenient for us, but really has actually made it worse. Okay. If you are dating to get married, okay, then it needs to be clear in your mind. If you're looking to get married, then you're looking to get married. There's a lot of people out there who are dating. They're not looking to get
They're
married.
just to fill a space, fill a void, have
Right.
companionship.
And
But
what they really hunger for is companionship. It's really what it comes down to.
That's what I've discovered, because I've heard from other friends, oh, they're just looking for companionship, for casual dating. But there was one friend to ask me, is it okay on the first date to tell them, how do you see yourself in this relationship? Is it a bad
I think it's a good
an
thing.
X mark for you if you ask that to the guy on the first date?
I think it's a good thing. Here's why I tell you. Okay, because I can tell you from a guy's perspective, we know 9 times out of 10, a guy knows if he intends to be with you long term. Most women think, oh, whatever. The guy, we know.
I don't
I
know
mean,
if they'll know that on the
How long would you know?
know it on the first date.
On the first date. I don't know if that's
What
if
I'm
you're
trying
gonna get an honest, realistic answer.
Uh-huh.
You can ask the question, but what will they have to base their relationship on, in that answer on? They can't base it that answer on just being with you for 3 or 4 hours.
No, they can. But here's the thing: what you're really looking for. Where is he going? What is it?
What does he want?
What does he
That's
want?
it. That's the long term.
Right.
The
What's his
long-term-
long-term plan?
Yes, because
Is it-
others, they just
Well,
want
why?
casual date. If the other person wants a long-term relationship and an exclusive relationship, because that person wouldn't want to go from one guy to another, and even the woman would not like the guy to be moving from one lady to another, right?
Right.
Okay, so in that case, yes, I think that, but not necessarily what do you want? What do you see in our relationship? What do you see in general? What are you looking for in relationships?
But
I think
also it will lead that also because you're dating. So how
Right.
on the that is a date.
But I'll put it to you this way. I think it's a good question to ask, but not in general. What's to find out. Where's his head at?
Yes.
I mean, like for me, when I was dating, I put this in my profile. I said I make friends,
Right.
and then I'll see where it goes.
That's what my attraction was. That phrase right there, that he makes friends. He was looking to have dates, yes, but in these dates, they were to establish friendships and not friends with benefits. Not talking about friends with benefits, because we didn't have any benefits until we got married.
Yes. Yes.
Can I say that again? We didn't have any benefits until we got married, until after day. Okay.
Yes.
So we were not friends with benefits. We were friends first. And then we became exclusive
Mhm.
as the relationship developed. And that is, we didn't live together. Even when we visited, we were living in different states. When we visited, there were no benefits. There was a cutoff in that level of intimacy. So living together cuts that out. And so you said you said you hear that people say that people are on their best behavior when you're dating, right? Well, guess what? When you're still living together, you're still on your best behavior because you're not married. There has not been a commitment. There has not been a covenant that says, you're my person, I'm with you forever. There has not been that commitment. So even though you're living together and you're doing all the things that married people do, especially for women, we don't have the security that you're my man, you're my husband. No, you haven't made that commitment. So that's part of why once you do get married, then you start seeing the person. And so a lot of people still after dating, I'm still learning Sherman, but Sherman's my person.
Mhm.
And as I learn Sherman, as he learns me, we know that it's safe. We've developed the skills and all to, for the communication, but at the core of our relationship, we've made a covenant, we've made a commitment that we are for each other. And so that level, we have that level of security there. Does that make sense about the living in that? So that's why we definitely do not advocate living in, trying the goods out first just to see, because I've been told that too. What if it's not good?
Yeah.
What if sex isn't good? Sex is high level for men. Yes, sex is very important for men, but relationship like trust and
Respect.
those respect is important for women. So that
So
has to be developed. Both
So
of those to be,
how will you, for example, there's this guy or a person who will always mention that they start seeing the relationship after they have sex, which I don't agree. Because
okay.
for women, they have to build that relationship first, and then before you could build that trust, you need to build that trust first.
See,
absolutely.
it's different for men and women.
Mhm.
Yes.
So men needs to have sex to experience the intimacy. Women
Not
needs,
needs, but
right,
it helps.
right. Women needs intimacy to experience to
have good
to
sex.
So the problem is we don't think the same, but when you're both understand and you're working together, it works. And this is kind of part of like when I say, you know, most people, we're doing things, our culture is doing things based on what's comfortable, okay? Not necessarily what's right. There's also a lot, let me be honest with you. Okay, the reason why people are saying they shack up or whatever, right, is because they think that by doing that, they're going to avoid the issues that come when you get bonded. You don't. You're fooling yourself. Because the reality of it is, all of us have dysfunctions that we're bringing. I don't care who you are, you're bringing some kind of a baggage. Okay. Now, the secret is, okay, is not trying to prevent the baggage. The secret is learning how to work as a team. That's
to
what
unpack the
right.
baggage
Because we teach,
together.
right. We're teaching couples really how to work as a team.
Right.
And people think, oh, we're great in the bedroom. That's not good enough. You need to work. Okay, there's three aspects of it. There's friendships, there's the partnership, and then there's the romance side of your relationship. You need to be a team player in all three of those.
Mhm.
Okay, you can't, okay, so we're good friends, but the rest of my life is horrible. That doesn't really work. I mean, you live in a home, you share a home, you gotta be partners.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people don't know how to be partners.
Yeah.
Okay. In our intimate era of our lives, the best sex you'll ever have is when you and your partner can work together and communicate and come to agreement. You can't, if you don't have that willingness to be working together, then you're in there going on your feelings and her feelings, and nobody's, I got my feelings met. Oh well, it's
Yeah.
all selfish.
And you never reach a very deeper level of intimacy.
Exactly.
You
It's
know,
very shallow, no?
Very
Because
shallow.
it's all in the physical aspect.
right. And so when you live together, you're still having that shallowness.
Mhm.
It's a shallowness in your relationship. You're not able to be 100% vulnerable.
Mm.
And to have a great relationship, you have to be vulnerable. That's the way Adam and Eve were in the garden before sin entered in, right? They were naked and unashamed. They didn't have anything between them.
Nothing hidden.
Nothing hidden. There was nothing hidden. Until you're married, you don't have the comfort to start unpeeling what's hidden. And even when you're married, and it's still not easy. There's skills to learn that. But God created marriage as a representation of his relationship with the Father,
Church.
the Son, the Holy Spirit, and in the relationship with the church. Nothing hidden, nothing between us. And so because of that representation, that's the only way you're going to have that. You can't have that if you're just living together.
Yes.
It's another thing that people don't realize when you live together. You come in, there's a level of lack of confidence. Okay, so now these are things that we're not saying, right? We're feeling it. Okay. A woman typically will never be totally vulnerable because she can't be 100% safe in feeling knowing that that man is not going to walk out tomorrow. She may not say it, but in the back of her mind, I guarantee you she's thinking it. Okay, because he hasn't committed to her. Okay. So when there's not 100% commitment, there's no total sense of safety. So I can't be totally safe and just bear all. Now, some people might be able to do it. I'm not saying across the board you may not. Some people might be able to do it, but the risk is still there.
Yeah.
There's nothing keeping them from tomorrow coming in and saying, I'm done and walking out. And
Right.
you have nothing that says, we need to sit down and figure this thing out. We need to work together. We need to solve it. There's nothing there. There's no, you have no,
security.
yeah, you have no security, but what I'm trying to say is there's nothing supporting that. There's nothing that forces you to address whatever the issue is.
And even with marriage, we're divorced twice to different people. Even with marriage, I mean, there's still a risk of the relationship not flourishing and ending in divorce. But with marriage, you have that stated commitment to God and to your spouse that you will. And most of us say these vows, right? And we mean them till death do us part, through sickness and in health, through richer or for poor. We meant that going in. We meant that going in both times. First time I married my ex-husband and him with his ex-wife. But along the way, we hit the roadblocks and the lack, like Sherman highlighted the things that lead to divorce. And so that's where, I mean, you need skills, you need coaching and help. But the first thing is, you really, especially as Christians, as Christ-like, as Christ followers, we really can expect God to totally endorse our relationship if we're not living in covenant and according to what he says. If we're just living together, that's not according to his plan for marriage. His first miracle was at a wedding. And I think that's, not just symbolic, that's telling us something.
And let me just talk practical on a practical level. There's a spiritual, I think a lot of people, when God created rules, we think those rules are for him. They're not. They're for us.
Yeah.
Okay. And it took me a long time to figure that out, because when I realized they're for us, okay, he says he hates divorce.
Yes.
And I understand why. It rips you up.
Yes.
It's not comfortable.
And it's a representation of him.
Right.
And when you're gonna divorce him, he
yeah.
hates that.
But
he doesn't want to be apart from us.
I mean, people nowadays, we say all these things. Oh, he's not treating you right. Just go get somebody else who loves and takes care of you. Okay. You hear it a lot, but no one is saying, why don't you guys go get some help and try and figure out what the problem is? That's what the real thing is. Okay. You love the person. That's why you married them. You love them. You want to spend the rest of your life. So there's something there that drew you together. There's something now pushing you apart. You know what's funny is we will spend years on years to get a degree or to get a career, and we will not spend time to learn how to maintain the relationship supposed to last your life.
Yes. Yeah.
See, and that's
We'll
the
spend
problem.
years and years training for sports,
Yeah.
or a hobby or whatever, right? But spend time to learn how to love your spouse. Oh, we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Or, I don't have time for my spouse, but I'm gonna go get another, a side boyfriend or a side girlfriend.
Yeah.
Take the time to
Looking for traits which are not present in the existing husband. And
I also wanted to interject here, Cynthia, before we go too far. We always want to make sure that we address when, and we know that they're out there, relationships that are dealing with abuse, with domestic violence, with spiritual abuse, with emotional abuse, and with physical abuse. God does not ordain that. And I think for me, my perspective of that verse, God hates divorce, but he allowed it because of the hardness in men's hearts. If people are allowed and expected to stay punching bags, that's not God's plan. That's where your heart has become hardened towards your partner, where you can hurt them and
not feel any sense of remorse or concern.
Right. And so God allowed, that's so a time of separation in those instances where there is abuse and hurt that is consistent. We recommend separation in that while you get help, because in those instances, you have still two people, you have two hurting people. You have the hurt person that's hurting the other person, and you've got the person that's being hurt that needs help and needs support. So there is help in those instances, but it has to be specialized help, and both partners need to be holding each other and themselves accountable for getting the help that they need. to stop the hurting one another.
In the Philippines, we don't have divorce, so we are really forced to stay with your spouse till
Mhm.
death do us part, and that was the reason why I stayed till for 23 years.
Okay,
Mm.
so let's deal with the other side of the coin.
Yeah,
And
And
that's
that's a hurtful thing, we want people to know you don't stay punching bags. I mean, it's I think it's more acceptable in our culture, but I hear what you're saying. In your culture, you had this pressure around you to stay in that. And sometimes even in our culture, even in the United States, we get that pressure from church. Honestly, we do. We get the pressure, oh, just pray about it. Oh, you're not praying enough.
yeah,
And we don't have that perspective, and a lot of coaches and counselors don't, even Christian, that no, you don't stay in a relationship where you are being abused, especially your children. If there's suspicion of child abuse, you've got to halt that. So
mhm.
I wanted to make sure I validated what Cynthia is saying before we go on, honey.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm glad you brought this up as well.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that because this is also one of the reasons why the divorce rate is rising. Okay, a while back, at least in our culture, it used to be taboo to get a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not anymore. So, it's really easy to go out and get one because it's becoming more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The problem with the past was because you weren't supposed to, there's a lot of abuse that went on. There's a lot of things that was never done. Um, but it still comes back to the same one things I tell you, skills. We don't know how to build effective relationships.
Mhm.
We don't know how to express and ask for our needs because there's needs shame in our society. It's like, you shouldn't be needy,
Yeah.
but yet we all have needs. And when there's a divorce, what's the first thing people say? He wasn't meeting my needs, or
Right.
she wasn't meeting my needs. So needs is very important, but we're not supposed to ask for them. So we have all these dysfunctions. The reason why, I tell you why it's so hard in marriage, okay? It's because in order to make it work, you have to change.
Right.
People think the other person, no, you have to change.
We get couples that come in and they're like, he needs a change.
Yeah,
Everybody thinking it's the other person.
blaming.
So, here's the reason why you need to change. In order to make marriage work, you need to change into the person that you need to be in order for it to be effective. And that's the challenge because people think, oh, marriage is not the problem. It's been here thousands of years. There's a lot of people are totally happy and flourishing. Okay, and there's a lot of people that's miserable. What's the difference? It's the same institution. The problem is people. Marriage isn't the problem. We're the problem. Okay, and when you realize that I need to change to make my marriage work, because it's like a dance. If one person changes the move, it's going to affect the whole
It
dance.
changes the dance. Right.
And
When you're
that's,
working together,
yeah,
it's beautiful. It flows well, right? But even if you're dancing together and one's a little off, you make it switch, and it changes the whole dance, and it still can be beautiful.
Yes.
so when you change, you influence change in your relationship. And that's why people don't understand. The person across from you doesn't have to change directly. You change. Your change will influence him to change or her to change. Okay. But a lot of times we're looking for them to change before we feel better.
Yeah.
And it's really about you do what's right. Okay. And in you doing what's right, it will influence him to do what's right or her to do what's right. But everyone is expecting the other person to do what's right. And you know what the interesting thing is? When we're dating, what are we thinking? Oh, I'm going to do everything for her, or I can't wait to see him. We're thinking of what? the other person first.
Mhm.
Mhm. And it's
Okay.
important to fill our cup first
Right.
and let
You
it
know,
overflow so that
yes.
you'll be able to share that love.
Right. And when we get married, what happened? We're not thinking about them. We're thinking about us. See the change.
Yeah.
We change.
We become more self-centered.
And
Because
that's why
we're more now comfortable with them. Oh, she's already my spouse. He knows me and so on. He'll understand me. That's
Yeah.
always the case.
Yeah.
But what it really comes down to, a lot of people right now are going to divorce because they've hit a problem
Mm-hmm.
that they cannot resolve.
Yes.
And you know the truth is, they're right.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the problem. You can't solve it. You can't solve it.
Mm.
But the truth is it is solvable.
Yeah.
It's just that you don't know how.
You don't have the
skills and
know-how,
the
the
know-how.
skills, right?
And people aren't willing to go admit that I don't know how. You hear this, like, my wife never listens to me, right? Or my husband never listens to me. Okay. If you think about that, that's very disempowering because you have no control. It's all dependent on them. Now, what if you were to change it? I don't know how to talk to my husband so he listens to me.
So
Or-
he can hear me.
Right. Or I don't know how to talk to my wife so she can hear me. See the difference? The difference is that second statement is empowering. If I don't know how, then I can go learn, right? So I can change.
I
I
change the way
change.
I say what I need to say so my husband could hear me.
And see, that's what people need to understand. It's like the problems you're experiencing, you don't know how to solve it. And that's okay. But most people think like, who knows everything? It's like you feel like in your marriage, it's like you've never had kids before, you've never been in a marriage before, and you go on expecting that you're going to master it. You're not.
Mhm.
And that's why you have problems because you go on with these unrealistic expectations. This is how I'm going to raise my kid.
This is the way my dad did it. This
Yeah.
is why my mom did
Yeah.
this.
And she comes in and she says the same thing. So guess what? Now you got a big conflict.
Mutual agreement.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, it's no two people are exactly the same. You're always gonna have. Oh, incidentally, here's a statistic, and I gotta be conscious of the time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
69% of all problems in marriage are never solved.
Are not solvable.
They're not solvable. You catch that?
Not solvable.
69%.
Is it not solvable or not unsolved, unresolved?
They're not resolvable. And the reason why they're
We
not
call them perpetual problems.
and
Gottman Institute calls them perpetual problems. Either conflicts or problems are one of two things. Either they're perpetual, which means they're never really resolved, or they're solvable.
Mhm. Are you able to share with us what are these non-resolvable problems? The common?
problems are related to your core personality.
Yeah, and your core beliefs,
Your core beliefs,
your core
values.
character.
So, what's a good one? A good one was in our situation where I had certain beliefs about where I was that my wife doesn't share. Okay. She's not going to change my belief.
Mm-mm.
Okay. That's
Who
who
he
I
is.
am.
Mhm.
Right. And we, hear people try, oh, I'm going to change him. You're not. You can't change the person.
Yeah.
Right.
You see something you don't like, be willing to live with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
are
if
you
you can,
willing to adjust?
you
Yeah,
be
you-
willing to
to
adjust. And if you don't think that you can, then
Yeah.
that's where you're the dating. That's where in the dating part, you've got to be willing to say, that's not my person.
Yes.
See, the thing about what I was talking about dating is we don't know how to date. People date out of their own gratification. Okay. They're not dating to find out if this is someone I want to spend rest of my life with. If you're doing that, you know.
Mm,
And the thing that I found out is after a certain point in dating, you don't make clear, rational decisions anymore. You
mm,
make emotional decisions because now you're emotionally, and this is why when you get physically involved, you get emotionally attached when you
you get
realize they're
that
not.
attachment. Yes. And ladies, if he's telling you he just wants to be friends,
Listen to him.
listen to him,
You just want to be
believe
friends.
him, and just be friends. Don't
Mhm.
let that friend occupy your time staying up all night talking until 2 a.m. on the phone. That's not a friend. That's a boyfriend. That's that's getting, that's not, that's more than
And,
just,
and why would the guys tell you that I only need a friend, but then would spend time with you talking until 2 a.m.?
right, talking or doing other things
Yes,
that
or
a,
video
a,
chatting.
a boyfriend would do and other things that a husband will do. Well,
See,
then
that's
if
the
he,
confusion comes in, where confusion comes in. How come guys are not being open or being, because the guys, I don't know why.
What? We're selfish.
We're so
Everybody's all
on that
selfish.
end, because we're all selfish, on the other end is because he's allowed to.
So you have to set boundaries.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes, if up front you set boundaries, and if they are not willing to respect those boundaries, then
Say
Don't cross.
bye-bye.
that's not your person. Don't
It's not
become,
meant for you.
and grant, I mean, this is I am preaching from experience, not that I've done it right all the time, because I've made those mistakes and cross boundaries that should not have been. And so it does, it does weigh on you later. You create soul ties with people that you weren't supposed to be with.
Yes.
And it just it adds to the baggage that
Exactly.
your spouse will have to help you to unpack. But that's what a spouse does. We learned early on in our second marriage and learning that God uses our spouses to help heal the wounds of our past. And so,
Is that
it
really? Because I've heard that before you enter into a relationship, the other person who has emotional baggage and so on, let him heal first before you enter into a relationship.
to a certain degree, but are you ever going to be completely healed of everything?
No.
No.
And so your spouse, like there's things that in our relationship, both of us, from our past that we know because we are best friends, we talk about it. And so who else is going to know these things besides your spouse? Yeah, we have friends and we share, but those really deep, intimate hurts and deep, sometimes they need special professional therapy, but a lot of times my husband speaking into my life and me speaking into his life and those things in the past help bring about the healing and us being sensitive to those things that have been hurts in our past.
No, I was referring to the dating stage. If you've discovered this guy is still has a baggage of the past pains he's still carrying, what would you suggest? Proceed with the relationship or let him go? Let him heal first.
I wouldn't. Okay. See, it depends on what it is, but
Depends on what it is. And
I wouldn't let that be
a deterrent.
a deterrent. See, here's the thing is one of the things that we teach couples when they come in with, we have to help them to understand we all carry our problems, but we're not our problems. Okay, if you brand a person, you'll never see them. You can't help them anymore. If you separate their problem, then you can deal with their problem apart from them. So as a couple, you need to understand if you guys are together, that's both of y'all's problem. It's not just his problem anymore. It's our problem now.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can work on the problem together. So, I mean, if his vice is drinking, it's if he has a problem with drinking, it's you guys' problem.
Now, if you notice that in dating, that someone has a problem with a vice, that's your opportunity to ask God, is this something that I want to enter into, or is this a deal breaker? And that's where having my list ahead of time, that was something that I had dealt with, a relationship that had a vice in it, that I didn't want to enter into again.
Mhm.
And so if I would have been dating someone that had, certain vices, in fact, I really, well, yeah, maybe I hadn't seen that. I dated a couple of times and I didn't see those vices, but that's a huge, if you already know what you're looking for, when what you're not looking for walks in front of you, you recognize it.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you want, then you're game for anything.
Yes.
So that's where, really going inside and being realistic with yourself. What do you want a relationship? What do you want your mate? What characteristics your mate to have? And then as well as what's your deal breakers?
What am I not
What do
willing to
you
live?
not want? Whatever that is. I wouldn't want, say for instance, you may say, I wouldn't want someone who treats strangers badly or
Mhm.
treats others badly.
Mhm.
So when you see that in the person, hey, you know what? That's probably not your guy.
Yeah.
That's probably not your person, your girl.
So I'll wrap it up to this way. If you don't know what you want, how will you know when you find it?
Yeah.
I knew the first week when I met her, she's my wife. A lot of times, a lot of
He
people are down.
says that, and that's that to me. That's profound. But he knew. He said he knew in a week because he had studied, he had read. He had his list.
I knew what I knew what I wanted, I knew what I needed, I knew what I was looking for. So when it shows up, it's pretty obvious. A
Mhm.
lot of people in the dating world don't know what they're looking for. Oh, I just want a nice guy. What does that mean? There's 100 nice guys.
Yeah.
Okay. And the truth of the matter is there is things that you genuinely want. There's things you can do without, the things that won't matter, and there's things that you just will not put up with. But we don't identify them, and we just go along and let things just evolve into something, and we realize, oh no, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
But if you're clear about what you want, you will see the red flags. They'll be clear, and you'll be able to walk away.
And I want to add really quickly. I know we're coming to our time.
Yes.
Sometimes it's fearful, and we're fearful that, oh, I'm never going to meet a person that's perfect. We're not talking about looking for perfection. We're talking about knowing what it is that you want. They may not check all the boxes, but they check the ones that are the most important, that are most crucial in a relationship. And just be of good courage. God knows if we trust that area of our life to the Lord and to the Holy Spirit, He knows what we need, and He has everything we need. There's no shortage of good, godly men. All you need is the one God has for you. There's no shortage of godly women. All you need is the one that God has for you. So don't be afraid. Oh, there's more men than women, and God has everything we need.
Yes. Oh, I like this discussion. Imagine we're already we're more than an hour. But okay, I would just like to to ask you, since your business is Restoration Ministry Incorporated, no?
Yeah.
What is now your goal? What are your goals now for the next 12 months?
For the next 12 months, to reach as many people as we can.
Mhm.
I think people need to hear that it's possible. There's
Yeah.
hope. And it's not as hard as we think is. If we look at it like we do our jobs, where we study and learn about relationships and what it takes to make them, and we will have a whole lot less problems.
Mhm. And
Have
I'm
time.
glad I was able to invite you and then share this with other people. You know what? I'm not really into asking a lot of questions like suddenly it just popped up, no? Then probably God is asking me, okay, ask this question because there are a lot of people who are in this situation.
We'd be willing to come back again and do it all over again.
Yeah.
That would be great.
We
So,
would love to help couples. We have a 1-year program.
mhm,
We don't just do, I mean, that we want it to be, we have three levels of programs. We do have a 3-month, a 6-month, but the 1 year, the goal is to help as many people, and we haven't put a number to it. With the 1-year program, we walk people through, one-on-one. We do coaching together. We do coaching with both of us with one spouse, and then we do one-to-one. I communicate with the wives, and he makes connection and communicates with the husbands. And then we do group as well.
Good.
So we feel like the Holy Spirit has really given us a very well-rounded approach in helping the couple. And we feel like we know, because we've seen this, where we're really partnering with the Lord and what he wants with the couple. When the couple decides they want to get their relationship in line with what God wants, we see him, just using us as part of that solution and part of the help in so many ways, because we're not with the couple 24/7. And then when the couple comes back and tells us, how they did with their homework or their assignment or whatever, we see all these other aspects where the Lord has just filled in and made it so rich. And it has been such a rewarding ministry to be in and to see the transformations happening
You
in
feel
the
so
couple.
much joy and fulfillment when you see others living the life they love, right?
Yes.
And yeah, that's our mission.
Them, just
Yes.
seeing God using them in their relationship.
Yes, yes. So how will what simple advice will you be able to give our listeners? One.
Mine simply is it's fixable. Okay. Let go of the mindset that you can't solve the problem. It's just accept the fact that you don't know how to solve the problem. It's a simple thing as that. And conflicts are not designed to rip you apart. They expose where you're disconnected in your relationships.
Mhm.
So
Nice. Okay.
Mine would be there is hope. There
yes.
is hope in Christ. Even when I was living single, separate from Sherman after we got a divorce, I knew that God sent Sherman to me. But I knew that we had made the mistake, not God. And so I kept praying, and I just stayed hopeful. And so keep hope.
Yeah, that's my word. I'm hoping that
Oh,
someone will come in. But you
and
know,
we're
huh?
1%. So we're proof that, so that it is fixable, and God
Yes,
can do anything. God, there is nothing impossible for God.
as long as you're willing to learn. because it's all about us.
He's a gentleman. He's not
It-
gonna force us.
Yes, and I remembered you sharing in the inner circle. It's about building connection rather than building a case. And that's, yes.
Look at you.
Yeah.
See,
Love
I'm
See?
learning. I've learned that even though it was it was taught how many months ago, no? What?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
See. So how can they reach you?
We are at restoredmarriages.com. Restoredmarriages.com. They can reach out to us there.
RESTORED
Okay.
marriages
With a S.
MARRIAGES.com.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Sherman and Senise. It was so nice to reconnect again with you, and it was a wonderful session, interview. I'm glad that we were able to share our message now to the youngsters, to the elders. It covers all ages because relationship
so
is for
much.
all.
Thank
And we are so proud. I am so proud of you. We are so proud of you and all that you're doing. Keep letting your light
Yep.
shine. Letting him shine through you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, God is the one orchestrating our life. So for us to fulfill his mission.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you so much. And to our listeners, wait till next episode. Thank you so much. Again, this is Cynthia Concordia from Dream to Rise. Okay.